Once upon a cold October night, I learned that some voices are not meant to be answered. And when you live alone in a building older than your grandparents, you start to realize something unsettling. Not every voice belongs to the living, and some of them already know your name. When I first moved into that apartment building, I thought I'd stumbled onto the kind of lucky break you only hear about in passing, rent that made you blink twice at the lease agreement, a location that was almost too good for the price. Sometimes, I swear the building itself was alive. Whispers seemed to crawl from the cracked walls, like it was trying to tell me something I wasn't meant to hear. The elevator, an ancient relic, didn't just groan when it moved. Sometimes it stopped between floors, lights flickering like a warning. On more than one occasion, I found old newspapers shoved under my door, yellowed and dated years before I even moved in, hinting at secrets buried in the past. At night, strange scratches appeared on my ceiling, long, deliberate marks that didn't seem human. It felt as if someone or something was pacing relentlessly above me, waiting. Each of these little things built up the tension, making me dread the silence of 6B even more. The lobby was a relic from another era, checkered black and white, tiles worn so smooth, you could see faint ghost-like reflections in them. The air smelled faintly of lemon oil and age, like the place had been cleaned the same way for the last 50 years. The elevator was the antique kind, with a steel accordion gate that you had to pull shut with both hands. It gave this long metallic groan every time it started moving, like a complaint from something tired of working. You couldn't ride it without feeling like you were trespassing in another century. My unit was 5B, dead center in the building. Below me in 4B was Mrs. Carmichael, a sweet older woman who always smelled faintly of lavender and chamomile tea. Above me was 6B. For the first 2 months, 6B was nothing more than a number to me. I never heard footsteps from above, no muffled TV chatter, not even the creak of pipes when someone showered. The hallway leading to it felt different. There was always something off about the 6th floor. Unlike the rest of the building, where footsteps echoed and neighbors exchanged quick hellos, that hallway felt like a vacuum, empty, silent, and cold. The air up there never seemed to shift, no matter how many times I passed through. Sometimes I caught a faint metallic scent, like rust mixed with something far more unsettling, something ancient and decayed. The walls were stained with yellowed patches of peeling paint, and the flickering overhead lights only made the shadows dance longer, stretching into corners where you swore you saw movement out of the corner of your eye. I never heard a single laugh, a door slam, or even a whisper from that floor. It was as if the entire place was holding its breath, waiting for something or someone to break the silence. Every time I glanced up the stairs towards 6B, I felt eyes watching me, though no one was ever there. Whenever I went up to the 6th floor for laundry or deliveries, the sound seemed to vanish halfway down the corridor, like the air itself swallowed it. The temperature always dipped by a couple of degrees, enough to make you notice but not enough to justify shivering. I told myself it was poor insulation. Maybe the tenant worked nights. Maybe they just kept to themselves. The first time I heard it was just past midnight on a Tuesday. I was at my desk, half watching some mindless video on my laptop while sipping bitter instant coffee. The radiator hummed its usual background noise. Then a sound cut through it. Not loud, not sudden, but wrong. At first, I thought it was just the pipes. Old buildings cough and moan all the time. But this wasn't random. It had a rhythm, a deliberate cadence, a voice, low, raspy, male, and coming from directly above me. Can you hear me?" The words were muffled, like someone speaking through a thick blanket, but still distinct enough that my scalp prickled. I stayed perfectly still, as if moving would somehow confirm that I had heard it. Then it came again. "Please, come upstairs." It wasn't desperate. It wasn't loud. But it had a strange, almost sticky quality, like the words were trying to cling to me. I swallowed and called back, hello?" No answer. Only the heavy silence of an old building late at night, the kind that feels like it has weight. The next night it happened again. Same time, same low rasp. I turned off my TV, paused my laptop video, and just listened. This time it said, "Don't leave." 2 words, slowly spoken, heavy, deliberate. The kind of tone you only hear from people who already know they have your attention. By the end of the week, it had happened 5 nights in a row. Always between 11:30 p.m. and 1 a.m. On the 5th night, it said my name. That night, just after the voice spoke my name for the first time, I noticed something else. A faint scratching sound, not from above but from inside my own apartment. It was coming from the ceiling corner above my bed. Soft at first, then more deliberate. I stood on a chair to listen closer, my ear inches from the plaster. That's when I realized it wasn't scratching. It was the sound of fingers, dragging slowly along the inside of the ceiling, moving in a circle. And when it stopped, a tiny flake of plaster drifted down onto my pillow. That was the first time my chest went cold. I had never told anyone upstairs my name, and I wasn't even sure anyone was upstairs. Friday night, I decided to check. Not because I was brave and because I was tired. I couldn't take lying awake waiting for the voice to start again. The elevator moaned as it carried me up, every clank of the chain echoing in my chest. When the door slid open, the air hit me, stale, heavy, with a faint smell of mildew mixed with something metallic. Rust maybe, or dried blood. The hallway was dim. One light near the end flickered faintly, casting slow-moving shadows along the peeling wallpaper. The air was colder than any part of the building I'd been in before. 6B's door looked forgotten. The brass numbers were so tarnished they looked black. The paint was chipped and curled like burnt paper. No doormat, no peephole. I knocked once. No sound. I knocked again, harder. The door moved. Not all the way, just enough to reveal a wedge of perfect unbroken darkness. No footsteps retreated, no chain sliding, no voice calling out. I hesitated, leaning in slightly. Hello? From somewhere in that blackness, close enough that I could feel the faint brush of breath on my cheek, came the whisper. Come in. It was too close, far too close. I stepped back so fast my shoulder hit the wall. My instinct screamed at me to leave. I turned and got into the elevator, slamming the gate shut like it might keep something from following. The next morning I went to the landlord. Who lives in 6B? I asked. His head snapped up from his paperwork. Why? I think they've been talking to me. At night. His jaw tightened. That apartment's been empty for 3 years. Last tenant. Well, he died in there alone. They didn't find him for a week. I waited for him to smile, to say he was kidding, but he didn't. That night, I triple-locked my door and left the TV on for background noise. At 12:14 a.m., I heard it again. Louder this time. You left the door open for me. My blood went cold, because I realized when I'd backed away from 6B the night before, I hadn't closed the door. Then came the slow, deliberate creak of floorboards and footsteps, pacing directly above my bed. They didn't stop until just before sunrise. It's been months now. I still hear the voice sometimes, faint, patient, waiting for me to answer. And some nights, when I'm on the edge of sleep, I hear the soft click of my own apartment door unlocking. If you ever hear someone calling to you from the apartment above, especially if you know it's empty, don't answer. Because once you do, they might never stop.